put you on mute. Sorry, you're unmuted now.
I have an apology from Councillor Hainsworth. Are there any other apologies from councillors before we start the meeting? I'll take that as a no. I'm nervous around the silence. You can hear me all right? Yeah, please. Councillor at Chambers, you're on mute.
Your Worship, we are live, but we haven't yet started the meeting. The meeting's due to start at 9:25. We're just making sure the technology will work.
Yeah, should be the same.
I think that'd be a feel heat. Yeah, I think that's just it.
Yeah. Doesn't make it easy to find, that's my point.
Really like looking at it.
Oh, wow.
Bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
Obviously discussing.
Katrina, can we come off mute, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to today's council meeting. Would you mind please standing for those that are able to at the council prayer read by the Deputy Mayor in Martin. Thank you, Councillor Dave Wilson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Almighty God, as members of the Rangitikei District Council, we give thanks for all the good things of our district and the advantages we enjoy. We pray that you will give us guidance and wisdom as we conduct the affairs of this meeting. We pray for all our communities and the district we represent. Help us to be fair and honest in our discussions and help us to work together in unity for the welfare of all your people. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. I have an apology, I think, from councillor Hainsworth. Are there any further apologies? If
Nothing
so,
from
could
down here.
somebody, could somebody please move those apologies be accepted? Councillors and Martin, if you wish to, can you just raise your hand if you wish to move? Councillor Hielroy moving, looking for a seconder to that. Thank you. Councillor Wong seconding. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. I would just like to remind councillors of the conflict of interest with regard to today's hearings. If you have a conflict that you're prepared to note now, that is fine, or you can raise them when individual submissions. Does anybody want to record any conflicts as of the moment? I have none. We'll move on. In terms of the order of business, today's order of business is unchanged. However, we are in 2 locations. And when we finish in Taihape, I'll adjourn the meeting, not close it. And it'll be reconvened once we're back in Martin. The reason for today's meeting is in the order papers 5.1. It's the hearing of submissions on the annual plan 25-26 and proposed fees and charges 26-27, the amended revenue and finance policy and proposed rates remission policy. Would somebody just like to receive that report, please? I'll move, looking for a seconder too. Thank you, Councillor Wong. In terms of submissions, I just want to illustrate some of the process around this. Submitters, and the first up will be Charity Davis and Taihape. And Charity, if you'd like to take the seat. As a submitter, you will have 10 minutes of time at your disposal, and I cannot let it go much longer than 10 minutes. So that includes also question time. So how you use that time is up to you. What I would ask is that the questions from councillors and your answers are as brief as possible to give their reply, to enable as many people to raise questions as possible within that time frame. It is not your opportunity as a submitter to question the councillors. Okay. When we get to 1 minute to go, I will just let you know that you've got a minute left. Any questions around that process?
No.
Any questions from Martin?
Nothing from here, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. We'll take it as read and we'll get underway. At the end of the process, of course, submitters will receive advice as part of the annual plan deliberations process, which will be separate. So Charity, welcome.
Thank you.
And you have 10 minutes available, and I will just start a clock. The time is yours.
Awesome. Oh, well, kia ora koutou. For some of you who may not know me, my name is Charity Davis and I am the president of the Taihape Playground Group. We've been fundraising for the past 6 years, and as you know, in that time we've had COVID, we've had economic challenges along the way, but we've never wavered. We've continued on in this project because we believe it's going to be a major asset for our community. Without further ado, so yes, we put in submissions for new toilets to go under the grandstand in accordance with the grandstand design that they've sort of been working towards, with Jill Duncan as the president of that committee. There was a group of us that put in submissions from the parks user groups, and we've just been going throughout the community, just asking as many people to put in submissions. And I received an email from the council saying that they'd received it. So basically, I'm here today to see where the council are at with the toilets that are currently sitting down there. I have been asking for the last probably 4 years about the toilets that are currently there, and I've heard a lot of hearsay about that. I have not received anything in writing, although I have asked several times for a letter from the council to say that they will get rid of those toilets that are currently sitting there. I believe that they're not up to health and safety standards. And I've just written in here a little note. Yeah, so I just wanted to see where the council are at with the toilets that are there, and whether you will be happy to send me in writing that you will get rid of those toilets, and also whether you are happy to go ahead with the design with the grandstand toilets.
Thank you. Are you happy to take some questions?
Yes.
Questions from councillors?
One question from here, Councillor Fee Dalgety, Your Worship.
Yeah, councillors, what I'll do is just ask you to introduce yourself, and Councillor Dalgety.
Hi, Councillor Fee Dalgety. I represent the Central Ward and live in Hunterville. Have always been excited about your playground project, and used the Memorial Park quite a few times with my children, riding ponies, etc. So I think there would be huge value in what you're trying to do. Just wanting to clarify, is the plan of the park, will it go where the existing toilets are?
Yes, it's going to be, we've applied for that whole site next to the grandstand where the current toilets are. So all that grass area and concrete area going up to the redwood tree is what we've asked for. If that makes sense.
Thank you. A question from me. There was a full design done in terms of parks and reserves around the whole layout of the park per se, and I know that you had to wait for that. Is it your understanding as part of that process that the toilet would be removed?
Yes.
Thank you. Further questions? Another question from me. In your submission, Charity, as part of your replies in your submission, you said you partly agree with the proposed changes to the revenue financing policy, but you didn't explain which parts you didn't agree with. Are there any parts that stood out that you thought the reason for giving that answer?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Your Worship, we have one further question from Councillor Fee Dalgety.
Any further questions from Martin?
One further from Fee Dalgety, Your Worship.
Charity,
Yes.
just while we've got you there, I'm just interested, how is your fundraising going, and what barriers have you got to going forward with this project?
So our group have fundraised, and we've raised over $76,000 on our own, with the pledge from the council 50K on top of that. But we've still got a long way to go. We've discussed with the designer, so we're working with the Wanganui Playground Committee. They specialise in making playgrounds all over the world, and they've made they built the one in Fielding. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the latest playground in Fielding, but ours is going to be very similar. The design is very similar to the playground in Fielding. And they are happy for us to do it in stages. So we're working in 2 stages at the moment, and both stages are going to be quite expensive. The first stage is $693,241, and the second stage is about the same. So we're still a long way off. However, everything is ready to go. The designers, everything is from the groundwork up is ready to go. We just need the money.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from Councillor Piki Te Ora Hira?
Tēnā koe, Charity. So within the, so that's a funding of nearly 1.3 million
Yes.
that you're looking for. Within that design, are the toilets part of that? Is the funding for toilets part of that design?
No, it was never going to be a part of the design. That was always something we had asked for the council to do.
Thank you.
Mayor Andy, if I may, one question from down here.
Yes.
Charity Dave Wilson, Deputy Mayor down here in Martin currently. Just one question is, are you requesting a standalone toilet block in replacement of the ones that are sitting there existing that I'm aware of where they are? Is that what you're requesting?
No, so we're requesting that the toilets go underneath the grandstand in accordance to the grandstand design that they are still in the process of fundraising for.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that clarity.
Any further questions?
Nothing from down here, Your Worship.
There's no further questions. Charity, thank you very much for submitting. We are absolutely aware of your project and the need to be able to raise the money within the sector. But we will take on board your questions and you deserve a clear-cut reply. So we'll make sure that happens in terms of staff process. So thank you for your time, and we will get those replies back as soon as we can, and you'll get an answer as part of the annual plan deliberations.
Thank you so much. Would you like a copy of these?
You certainly can table that.
Okay.
Thank you very much, and if you pass it to Tiffany, we'll make sure that that's recorded, please. Thank you. You're welcome to stay if you wish.
And
the second submitted this morning is Jock Stratton. Jock, could you come to the table? The same rules apply for you. And welcome, and we recognise your role as chair of the Erewhon Rural Water Supply, and you're speaking on behalf of them.
Yep. So,
Jock, the time is yours. You have 10 minutes. Use it how you wish.
Okay. Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks for your time today, councillors. The Erewhon Water Scheme, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is a rural gravity-fed stock water scheme situated east of Taipi. It rises from the Reparoa Bog, which is on the Aorangi Trust land at the back of Mangahani. There's 2 branches. One branch goes out to Kelly Land Company. The other branch crosses the Rangatiki River and comes nearly halfway to Taipi, Barry Thomas's property. Services between 18 and 20,000 hectares, although that is quite debatable because of scheme extensions over the years. 1,540 odd cubic metres of water a day are delivered by gravity. It is a council-owned water race, but it is governed as a subcommittee by the Erewhon Water Scheme. Back in 2022, the committee, frustrated with the lack of knowledge about the state of the scheme, asked Andrew Van Bussel and council staff to prepare a CapEx plan. This has been a long process. 3 waters and a little bit of COVID got in the way. Along the way, we had Chris Pepper look at the scheme. He's an engineer that was recommended to us. He determined that the scheme was generally in good repair, although some of the pipes were ageing. Through this CapEx scheme developed by Andrew Van Bussel, we've identified a number of areas, and they actually straddle the Rangitikei River. 2 stages on the Mangahani side and 1 larger stage on the Pukeokahu side. It's over 2 kilometres, about 2.5 k's of pipe that we've identified that needs upgrading. We have done other upgrades in recent years, but these ones are in high pressure areas and are considerably more expensive. So we've had estimates on these upgrades, but with things going on in the Middle East and other things, we feel that we need to go to the market to find out a true cost. And to do that, we need to have financial backing, and that is why the scheme is coming to the council to ask for financial backing in the form of a loan to enable this process to begin. So that is, you guys have our submission in writing, and that's what we'd like you to consider on our behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Jock. You're happy to take some questions?
Yes, thank you.
So just to clarify, what you're asking for is really the loan provision to be funded by the scheme users?
Yes, yes. It would be, the scheme users pay a water rate already. We doubled that in 2022. We haven't touched it since, but we are aware, obviously, that will need to change. We haven't consulted with the farmers on that yet. We're waiting for the outcome of the CapEx program, what it's going to cost and where our funding is going to come from before we go and consult with farmers.
The second question from me, in terms of stage 1, stage 2, you've got 692,000 stage 1, 334 stage 3, stage 2. Those are the capital expenditures, but they sit within an operating budget that you want increased from 450 odd to a total operating budget of 5 million within the LTP.
Yes, there has been a bit of headroom created with the 5 million. There's been estimates between 2.5 to 4.9. That's why we need to go to the market.
That's the principal reason I wanted to ask that question, just to get clarification around that. Take any other questions from the floor? Questions from councillors. Councillor Wong, please.
Jock, Chief Wong, I'm on the Water Committee. And I've been reasonably aware of the progress you've made in the last 3 years on this, but I believe you had alternative funding streams and alternative plans. What brought you to this conclusion to come to council for this funding?
Okay, yes, thanks, Councillor Wong. We did start the process of applying to the Rural Infrastructure Fund because they were giving grants as well as loans. When it became clear to us it was going to be a loan, we felt it was, without going any further, it may have been easier to go to council, as we have a long financial history with council and they know our scheme better. So who else? No, there's no, yeah, the Rural Infrastructure Fund was the one we investigated the most for alternative funding.
Thank you.
But we've actually terminated that process. It got to Cabinet, it was going to Cabinet, but we stopped it there.
Thank you.
Your Worship, question here from Councillor Fee Dalgety.
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Dalgety.
Fee Dalgety, Central Ward. Can you just talk me through $2 million in headroom? I'm just wanting to understand that a little bit better, please.
Sorry, can you repeat that, Fee?
Sorry, I understand you're asking for an extra $2 million in headroom. And I'm just wanting to understand that a little bit more, please.
As I said, we're under their estimates. We don't know, and that with the uncertainty in the Middle East, and oil prices and plastic pipe, which is the main component of what we'll be using, it's a, for want of a better word, it's an aspirational figure, but we don't want it to be that high. We're just saying it could be that high. We don't know what it will be yet. And once we go to the market and get some firm pricing from outfits, we've used reputable outfits before, Waterforce being one, then we are in a good position to create a financial plan.
Just further clarification from me around that. So within your submission, you've said that this may not happen year one, that it could be across the long-term plan. So you're not asking for a drawdown loan passed to you of 5 million. What you're asking for is the potential over time to that figure. Is that?
That's correct. That's correct. And the total amount for those upgrades, and then divided by what will be acceptable to the scheme users and council to fund, will determine how quick or we do it, or how far we spread it out.
Thank you. Further questions, councillors? Councillor Wong.
One more question, John. The estimates that you have now for the project, I take it they come from the consultant engineers and
on the capex,
yes.
then, which I believe.
Oh yes, for 5 million. Where do those figures come from?
Initially through Andrew Van Bussel, who's done a lot of work on our behalf there. But these are quite historical. Some of these are back in 2022, 2023. And that's about as good as we can get. And without going to the market and firming up those figures, we're still clutching around a bit in the dark. One project, which is about a bit over 2 kilometres, involves over a kilometre on a public road, needs a traffic management plan. The second part of that stage is on a track that needs to be upgraded, which goes into the Rangitikei. So there's a lot of uncertainty. So I apologise for the vagueness on some of these figures, but it's just where we are. We don't know any better. We've had some very best estimates from the people that work with us, but at the moment, that's as good as we can do.
Thank you.
Final question from me. So the committee have given their approval for you to come to submit it with regard to this matter?
Yes, the committee have approved the submission and are aware that I'm here submitting today, yes.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors?
Nothing from here.
No, well,
Just one, we do have the support of our farmer. They may not be up to date with the actual ins and outs of day-to-day of what we're doing here, but we do have the support. This is a very important water scheme to the region. We did have a business case presented for us to go to the RIF fund, and there are some tangible benefits outlined in that business case. So when it comes to borrowing money, and especially on how we manage it, we've got the support of the scheme members. So,
Jock, can you give us an indication of the total area or the number of farms involved in this?
There's 27 connections. Some of those farms have amalgamated in the 40 years it's been running. But because when it started, it was watering 18,650 hectares, but like I know from experience, like it's extended on our farm, we've brought neighbouring properties and it's gone on to that. So that area has actually probably increased, if anything.
Okay. Thank you very much for your submission, and we'll go through the same process and come back to you as part of the annual plan process. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
We admire the work that you have taken on in terms of chairing this process and the commitment to the farming groups. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
The next submitter, Peter, we have is Peter Kipling Arthur. Peter, if you would like to come forward, just a reminder that if you weren't in the room, you will have 10 minutes. That includes question time. How you use that time is up to you. The questions can come from the councillors, so you can't question councillors. And we understand that the submission is on behalf of the Taihape Heritage Grandstand Subcommittee.
Heritage Trust Subcommittee, yes.
Heritage Trust Subcommittee.
Yeah.
And thank you. The 10 minutes is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just with the work that's going on regarding the grandstand and the parks, etc., we've discussed over several years the state of the toilets at the gates end of the Memorial Park. They have been there for well over 70 years, I believe. Their status is not very salubrious at all, particularly the ladies' toilets. And I think they do need replacing, and we are asking that if council and the committee that's working with the council to replace the grandstand, to upgrade the grandstand, would look at putting these toilets either into underneath the grandstand or replacing them totally. They're currently unsafe for children. They don't serve individuals with mobility challenges at all. In fact, some of the stalls are too small for your average size person, let alone anyone else of more than XL size. At that end of the park, there's a need for toilets all through the summer. I know that the staff that run the pools are often interrupted from their management of the pools complex, with people wanting to know if they can use the toilets there rather than go to the ones up at the top. It's something that we ask simply as a case of maintaining and developing the jewel that is the Memorial Park complex and the Papakai Parks and Reserves as well. We've got a great heritage jewel in the crown in Taihape here, a green jewel, and we'd like to see that this is acted on. The bunker that is the toilets is the one thing that spoils it at least. Thank you.
Thank you. Open for questions, but is there a question from me? Is there a preference? You said either located under the grandstand or external to. Do you have in your subcommittee have a preference?
The subcommittee has a preference. Has no preference either way, because if we were going under the grandstand, because it's a level 2 heritage building, what is underneath can be altered and brought up to code. However, if you have toilets that are freestanding or outside, that may be better in terms of access for the wider public and general safety. That's something outside our knowledge, and probably staff would have better knowledge of what's required in that.
Thank you. Councillor Piki Hero.
Kia ora, Peter.
Kia ora.
And Morena. So my question would be, so the Taihape Heritage Trust is one, and in particular this grandstand kaupapa, or getting that sorted out, is one of a number of trusts and organisations in our town that are working on these upgrades. Have you spoken to any of the, for instance, like the Taihape grandstand group or the playground group about what their preferences could be?
There has been discussion in the larger meetings with the large grandstand group on what people would look for. There is also the fact that with the playground group, and everyone's got the dreams of what you would want. All we're asking is that, from our point of view, that the toilets replacements are upgraded and something is done about them. We're not asking and saying it must be this or it must be that. We're asking for something that is clean, tidy and workable.
And I understand from other submitters that there's been mention of various prices to that. What's your understanding of the cost of that in terms of council?
I have no idea of cost. I know that depending on where you are, and depending on what standard of toilet facility you're putting in, whether it's a 2-block like you've got at Mangaweka, or something more advanced, that the costs will vary. And that's something the community's got to look at and the group's got to look at.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wong.
Chief Wong, North Ward Councillor. Thank you for coming, Peter. This in your position as in community board and other committees, I believe that we've had a lot of conversations about this particular toilet block, but particularly with your and council definitely understands that it's past its by use and safety and hygiene and room. But with your hat on as the Heritage Committee, what is your point that block is this is just a alternative view for those who may think along those lines, as a heritage building of Taihape that's been there for your entire and my entire lifetime. How would that be viewed as demolishing a heritage building? Not that anyone has put that, but has that been taken on from your committee?
We look at it would, if it had something other than a military pillbox, World War II pillbox design of heavy duty concrete, if it had something where when you and I were playing barefoot rugby was as salubrious then as it is now, which it hasn't changed, then possibly, but it's got no status except if you are preserving this is how people lived in the Dark Ages. It's not a heritage building as far as we're concerned. It's unique, but it doesn't serve the function, and I don't think it really ever has.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from Martin?
Nothing here, Your Worship, thank you.
Questions from the rest of the panel?
I think
Well, thank you, Peter, and you're aware of the process that we'll go through. So the understanding is that you have no clear process around whether it's under the building or outside the building, but you want replaced, and you're quite happy that the existing one is demolished.
Yeah. It needs to be replaced simply from the grounds of hygiene, if nothing else.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
We welcome to the fray past councillor Jill Duncan. Jill, if you would come forward, please. And as I understand it, you're submitting initially on the Taihape Grandstand Restoration Committee and your place within that.
Yes, that's right.
As you will know, the same rules apply to you in terms of speaking, 10 minutes, etc. How you use that time is yours. It's nice to see you back. Jill, the time's yours.
Morena councillors and councillors in the South, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to submit today on behalf of the Taihape Grandstand Restoration Committee. This particular submission is in support of the playground group as well as our own committee. I'll take it as read. I'm assuming you've read it.
Yes, absolutely.
The main target for us is really that the project on restoring the grandstand is, from our perspective and the committee's perspective, most efficient, cost effective and cost efficient to be done all at the one time. and to be able to put, to restore the grandstand as a multi-purpose building, which is a focus for the committee. Putting the grandstand, putting the playground toilets into the grandstand footprint would seem the most practical, especially as the Taihape Domain Plan, which came out in 2022-23, has the allocated space for the playground group has actually been reduced since then. So for them to have the largest green space available, the toilets which need to be demolished, hopefully demolished in time and replaced. If we put them under the grandstand, it would give more space for the playground equipment and still allow access for maintenance vehicles and emergency vehicles around the grandstand. So yeah, that's really the focus and the discussions that we came to. I'm happy to take questions.
I've heard Councillor Hiller first.
Morena Jo. My question would be, this is the third, I don't know if I'm going to say that.
You try it and I'll rule if you're not.
So this is the third submission that we've had this morning, where the focus has been around toilets.
Yes, but this doesn't count on your time. It's a procedural piece. I'll give you a time allowance for. The answer is that any different group has the right to present, and how they can present on exactly the same subjects. I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah.
The issue comes if two members from exactly the same group are wishing to present in Oddmore.
Yeah. Okay. So
happy for it to proceed.
Thank you. So my question would be in regards to community, this community of Taihape, for instance. In my head, that means there's been a lot of kōrero that's happened between those groups because of that very fact. So I'm just confirming that that is the case with you.
Yes, we've had a lot of discussion around this, especially as the playground group is so supported within the community. Everyone would love to see that playground up and running. And yeah, it is our focus to try and make that a working and a collaborative part of our project and to support them.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Wong.
Good morning, past councillor. Duncan, before I come point of order, I am on this committee, the Taihape Grandstand Restoration Committee, as a council, so is there a conflict of interest?
If you are actually on that committee, you shouldn't be asking the questions.
Right, I shouldn't have asked the question.
We're only on as council representatives.
But you're still on that committee, so you are conflicted.
I am conflicted?
I think so.
Okay,
The answer is yes.
So in saying that, so I shouldn't have asked that question either.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask some questions here. So one of the things that I just want clear definition around, you're saying that your preference is for the toilet to be built underneath because it allows more storage room. Is what I think you said, allows more storage for who? For the playground, or
No, I'm sorry.
what storage are you talking
I
about?
think that might have been a misunderstanding.
That's why I was asking the question.
No, not more storage room, more room for the playground to be established on the northern end of the grandstand, because the green space that was allocated originally was larger than is now allowable. Council's gone back and re-looked at that because of the requirement to have access to the grandstand and around the grandstand for emergency vehicles, excuse me, and maintenance. They have actually reduced the green space that has been allocated to the playground, which means that if those toilets are on, if any toilet block is excuse me, situated within that green space, it seriously reduces the area that the playground can be built within.
Okay. So you're taking the position with regard to this submission around giving maximum space for the playground effectively?
Yes,
Okay.
and also within that though, it is beneficial for the whole grandstand project that it is rebuilt or reinstated and renovated as a multi-use facility.
The next question from me, there's been mention in some of the submissions around the cost associated, 250 or 256,000, whatever,
That's right.
as a request.
Mhm.
Is that your understanding of the budgeted section to build this underneath the grandstand?
Yes, I've used the latest updated BQH QS, which was done through council. I believe council paid for that to be updated on the 5th of October 25, and that is the latest budgeting that I could see around the actual cost of the toilets
So,
built within the grandstand. However, the scope of the toilets has not been finalised.
okay, so in terms of the money that the request for council, there is a separate sum of money that council has approved as final funders for the grandstand project.
Yes,
And this 256,000, in your view, is separate to that amount of money. Is that your understanding? It should be my understanding. Is that your understanding?
yes, it is my understanding, because council have previously committed to replacing those toilets.
Thank you. I just want absolute clarification around this. Anything from councillors and Martin?
I believe your previous question has answered a number of questions that were sitting down here in the chambers, your worship. So I'm not seeing any hands up. So no further questions from down here.
Yes. And the reason I take the note, sorry, and I should have pointed it out earlier, within your submission, you actually named the two councillors as members of this group that had effectively provided the submission. You have a minute or two more. Anything else you wish to bring to our attention? No?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
You're now being asked to change hats effectively because
I'll just get my other machine.
you don't have to change chairs for it. But the next submission is from yourself on behalf of the Taihape Community Board. And you have the absolute right to be able to submit on behalf of two different organisations. Just clarification for the record. So your submission.
Can I just take a moment to bring it up?
Sure.
Thank you.
Give you a minute.
Apologies, but I did not get the email about some information.
If you're having trouble bringing it up, I can
Have you got
pass
a
my
printed version?
computer with your submission over to you if you want.
I can.
Could you? Sorry. Great, thanks, Tiffany. Wonderful, thank you. Right, thank you. Once again, thank you very much, councillors, for having me and being able to speak to this on behalf of the Taihape Community Board. There were a number of subjects, obviously, that we needed to cover. And more than anything, it's to bring to the attention of the council, the subjects that are dear to the heart of the people in the Northern Ward. I obviously, once again, I will take this as read, and
Thank
the
you.
Taihape Community Board has also, just while we're on the subject, supported the replacement toilets and the restoration committee of the grandstand. So I'm happy to take questions. Diana, you're the only one that's allowed. Sorry, Councillor Beard.
I'm not sure that I am.
So I two or three questions from you while other councillors are thinking. The first is the request for water CCOs to be protected from eventual privatisation. Are you aware that it is much more difficult now that a new water entity has been formed by law for it to be privatised, other than we're currently? So, are you aware of that?
Yes, I have read quite a lot of the papers around this, and I do believe it is in some ways more difficult, but it's still possible. And I think it is, if we look at many of our other big providers, such as the electricity networks, railway, as soon as you put anything into a company, you might put legislation around it to protect it from privatisation in the first place, but eventually it is vulnerable, as are all things actually, with a change of government or change of legislation.
Okay, so the answer there is you are aware that it's more difficult. The next question from me, further down in your submissions, and thank you, it is a fairly complete submission as to what your current roles are, etc. But you make the comment that fees should generally recover full cost where service is used by an individual or identifiable group. What you're asking by way of that for instance, if you attend a swimming pool or, for example, in Taihape, that the total cost of that service should be provided by the people that go to swim?
I think there are some exceptions to the rule, and I would think swimming pools is one of them. There are some things that council provides, such as toilets, that you don't pay for, that everybody pays for, and I think swimming pools are probably part of that. But I was thinking more about venues that are hired and used by groups within the community.
Okay, thank you. I just want to clarify that.
Mm-hmm.
And the third point from me, there's quite a bit in your submission around this venue here and the need to increase the kitchen facilities and toilet hygiene and so on. Have they been flagged as a request for service at all?
I believe so. Over the last few years, I believe they have been, especially the men's toilets is pretty terrible.
Okay, thank you. I'll take questions from councillors, please.
We have one from down here, Councillor Rocco.
Kia ora, Jill.
Councillor.
Councillor Raukawa, Coastal Ward, thank you for your submission. A question is that you talk about civil defence and asking for a stronger support, a trailer. What is in the community at the moment in terms of civil defence, if any?
So we have got a civil defence group who have to be notified so that they are geared up. For instance, in the Valentine's weekend event, they weren't actually, what's the word? They weren't notified, and so they didn't kick in until further along the piece. So that was unfortunate. There is a trailer. It's called a trailer that is designated for Taihape, but it is located in Martin, and I believe generally it's located in Martin. but for example, it was actually brought up to Taihape when the next event was we were alluded to in time, but that Valentine's event, it wasn't. So we didn't have a sat phone. We didn't have a number of other pieces of equipment that would have been helpful. It was also, I don't know whether I said in here, I can't remember, but it was a bit of a row of lemons because we'd had that power outage the day before and our cell phones went down. So when I've spoken to people within the community, such as the Taihape Neighbourhood Support Group, and I spoke to our Chief Fire Officer and a number of other people, they were of the opinion that it's really important that we all work together and find a location that is safe for the storage of that trailer, because I think that is the core problem at the moment, that there isn't such a location.
A supplementary question from me to that. Why do you believe that it has been designated, that trailer, to Taihape specifically?
The people I spoke to about the trailer called it the Taihape Civil Defence Trailer.
Who?
Taihape Neighbourhood Support and the Chief Fire Officer both called it the Taihape Civil Defence Trailer. And it's supposed to have beds and all sorts of a number of things, which I'm not privy to, but I just wanted to support the kōrero around that said that we need that trailer in Taihape, and the problem seems to be that there is no location, safe location.
Okay, as part of the answers, we will come back to whether that is in effect the correct story.
Right, thank you.
Further questions, councillors?
Mary's point of order, please.
Certainly take a point of order.
I'm not sure at the moment. I'm currently on the Taihape board by rotation, so Councillor Okawa isn't, not at present. I just haven't been able to attend for family reasons. And I have got a question, and that's why I'm asking point of order.
You don't need a point of order to ask a question.
No, to establish whether I can ask a question.
Yeah, you're there as a council representative. That's a different matter to being on a committee.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
And you talk about land use, and your words are specifically more housing for businesses looking to expand. Now, you talk about housing, but is that housing for businesses or housing for people, or is it both?
Well, houses are generally used by people, so I would think that it would be all people that needed to, for businesses to expand. I know that Susan Benson has particularly said on a number of times, she has the Hautepu River Park, Hautepu Pine and Hautepu Rural businesses, that they have been restricted at times because they cannot find accommodation for workers. And I believe, I believe that the Tweedales actually had problems like that at one time, which possibly are no longer the case.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hero.
My question is, do you think that the communication link between council and the Taihape Community Board is working?
Yes, I do, and I'd like to thank the Northern Ward councillors. I think you're all great. You come to meetings when you can, and I think the communication and connection between the various groups is actually growing, and I very much appreciate that.
Your Worship, we have one question from down here in the in Martin, councillor.
Thank you. This might need to be the final question. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Joel, Fee Dalgety, Central District Ward. Nice to see you. Joel, while accepting your request for maintenance around the Kakeko Hall, I'm just interested in your thoughts when you're talking about users. It should be 100% user pay situation, you know. So I'm thinking, well, how does that work in the hall there when I believed community groups were getting subsidised? What's your thinking around that, please?
Yes, thank you for the question, Councillor Dalgety. Yes, I I think that there are different types of groups. There are groups that serve the community and there are other groups that serve themselves, and perhaps there should be a definition there. But if there is a group that is using the hall for pleasure, predominantly, not that I'm against that, but I would think that they would be more likely to be a paid group that could contribute towards a hall such as this, which is in desperate need of maintenance and is our primary hall. And frankly, I think it's an embarrassment for Taihape.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, Jill. Thank you for your submission. Thank you for the completeness of it. And nice to see you. In terms of the process, the next submitter is Daniel. So Daniel, Daniel, in terms of the process around submissions, you have 10 minutes, including questions at the time. So how you use that 10 minutes is your call. You can't ask questions of the councillors. It's the process. That time is yours.
Okay. Largely, I think my submission, I think my thoughts centre mostly on the role of the bureaucracy in council, and where efficiencies can be made, changes in focus, that they should be more customer focused, as in remembering their public servants rather than people who make rules and enforce them and make life difficult for the ratepayers whom they purport to serve. Happy to take questions on what you might think of that.
Thank you. Could you give us some examples of where council has made rules to make things difficult?
When we had a meeting here, it was a week or so back with Jill, and there was a gentleman who was just trying to put a house on a piece of land he'd bought at a farm or near a farm. And no one at compliance or whoever they are that does the rubber stamp to put a house on that bit of land, which he'd paid for. And it was, I believe it was a small house or something like that, I don't know. He just struck hurdle after hurdle after hurdle, and there was no common sense. The guy just wants to put a house that he can live in, attach it to services, but then someone at council in the bureaucracy was constantly putting up, no, there's a process you have to do for this, and it might cost more. We can't give you a final amount of how much it's going to cost. No, it can't be this far away from the road. It has to be over here, 100 metres away from services, or something dumb like that. It just makes no sense. Common sense. So it's stuff like that. And I don't know if you're aware, but throughout the country, there's this rising tide of frustration with bureaucracy. No one cares about what Wellington thinks because they're all a bunch of, excuse my inelegant speech, but idiots who don't know anything outside of Wellington. People get frustrated with bureaucrats because they get paid a lot of money, they go to meetings, they do email things, they make little rules, and the rest of us that have to live and work and try and get stuff done, when we hit a rule and it makes no sense. I mean, did I really need to pay $1,000 to have Derek come out and when I put a shower in my B&B, and then I get 20 questions, most of which from the consenting thing, that didn't apply. The guy that I spoke to on the phone couldn't get his head around the fact that the carport had 2 rooms built on top of it, and he couldn't understand that the carport had solid walls. I mean, he had to come out and then he finally got it. It's just stuff that frustrates people, and the bureaucracy in New Zealand, it's a handbrake on progress. I mean, we're known as the Germans of the Pacific because we are so difficult to deal with.
A couple of questions from me, and please be careful about citing a particular concern that you may have, which may need to go through a different process.
No, that's fine.
I take it on board that you're looking at the general principles of bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Are you aware, when you say that there's a rising tide of risk nationally, are you aware that council has to comply with the laws of the land set in government?
Yeah, I know, but there has to be pushback on that. If someone from Wellington comes up with a rule and thinks, oh, we think it should be like this, then someone's got to sit them down and say, well, no, this doesn't work for my region. For the people I represent, this doesn't work for us and it will not work. If it adds cost or a time delay, things like building consents, things like, well, consents for anything. I mean, why does it have to take so long for stuff to get done? Why do we need endless, why do we have to have a fee structure that has no end to it, or a fee structure that has ridiculous amounts attached to it? So we don't have thousands of dollars on top of rates bills and stuff in a cost of living crisis. We need bureaucracy to be lean, efficient, and low cost. I guess that's what I'm kind of really getting at.
I mean, I guess as a general principle,
Yeah.
council shares some of your views around the need to be affordable, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and I applaud the RDC for being lean and as good as possible in those areas.
I mean, I can't give my views here. This is a question on your submissions. Councillors, do you have questions?
Yes. Yes. Good morning, Daniel, Chief Wong, Northern Ward Councillor. Your comment that to encourage people and businesses to move to the region,
yeah,
to increase the ratepayer base, I think council and all councils would be in total agreement with that. But the region being the whole region, as in the Horizons region, or do you talk about the Taipi region or the Rangitikei District region? And have you got any specific areas of things that council should do to enact this sort of, because we would love to do that sort of thing, but could you?
Yeah, thanks. Probably I would be speaking of the Rangitikei region as a whole. If we can encourage businesses to come here, that creates jobs. We can rezone land for housing, and it's a whole flow-on effect. If we can entice people to move from Wellington, Auckland, and some of those regions, bring manufacturing, bring stuff that people need. Whether we give them, if you can afford to give them some kind of rates rebate to entice them, that might be worth looking at. I don't know the details, but I think it's worth attracting as many people as we can to move to the Rangitikei District. We are a large district, and as I've learned, we don't have enough people, which means you guys are strapped for cash sometimes. More people, more businesses means obviously rates income goes up.
Thank you. Certainly. Councillor Beard.
Councillor Taipi.
Sorry. Sorry.
You have said that you'd like to encourage more businesses to the Rangitikei District, and you've already alerted us to your concerns about the consenting process.
Yeah.
Other than the consenting process and its cost, what do you think are the barriers to people wanting to come here, or what other kind of enticement could be provided?
It might be something to investigate. I think if we can look at the processes, if someone wanted to move their business here, if we went through all the processes that they had to go through and we just found a way to streamline it, and we looked at the cost structures and maybe did a survey of businesses and said, is this cost structure, is it something you could manage if you wanted to move your business here? Or is it too much? How can we make it easier? I mean, that's the attitude that I think bureaucracy needs to have. How can we make it easier for you to move your business here? And I think if we can do that better than anyone else, because we would be competing with other councils for their business and for their people, I think that might go some ways to enticing people to move here.
Further questions? Questions from Martin?
Nothing from council chambers, Your Worship.
Well, thank you, Daniel. Thank you for your submission. Thank you for your time. We are aware of the need to be as streamlined as we possibly can be, and perhaps that's a conversation I can have with you at another stage.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Ian Ray. Ian, please join us. I just want some clarification from you. You have asked for 2 submissions, one of which being the Taiapi Community Development Trust.
Yes.
And a further submission on behalf of the Taiapi Development Trust. Are they one and the same?
Yeah,
Well, then
I must have slipped out and left one word out on the second submission, and I think Krista already asked me that question, but
so
yeah, it's Taiapi Community Development Trust, and I am a trustee on that.
okay, so the 2 requests for 10 minutes each should now become 10 minutes in total, because
2 different subjects.
so it doesn't matter whether they're different subjects. You are representing them in much the same that.
Okay, well, I'll just have to race through it in 5 minutes, won't I?
Okay, thank you. If you have been advised differently, Ms. Gow.
Well, I was allocated
So I'm
10:30
sorry,
to
I didn't-
10:50.
I wasn't the person who confirmed. My understanding was that Crystal confirmed that they were 2 separate submissions by separate parties, but it sounds like there has been some miscommunication. And I think it would be appropriate to treat them as one, but that is.
Would normally that'd absolutely be appropriate, but if you've been advised by a council officer that you can give me a name to that I can check, then I would separate them. But have you received that clear-cut advice, or Katrina or Carol, give me a definition here as to who, do you know who you spoke to?
My communications were always with Crystal here.
So I would suggest, although I wasn't the officer involved, but I would suggest that there has been a miscommunication in terms of Crystal understood that it was 2 separate
Oh,
organisations.
sorry, I'm not Crystal.
And that in fact, that there's just been miscommunication, so entirely up to you whether you wish to.
Your Worship, I think in this regard, there has been a bit of a confusion. So I think we should allow the 2 slots, just because Mr. Ray has come in on that assumption. And so it may not be fair on him now to have to limit his time. That would be my view.
Okay, look, I'll take the advice from the Chief CE, the Chief Executive
Okay,
Officer.
I'll try and keep it
I
brief.
will give you time.
Yeah.
But that is not normal practice. You get to speak once on behalf of an organisation. Your time, I would appreciate it if that falls well within the 20 minutes.
Right, it's the clock ticking, is it? Okay.
The time is yours.
For those that don't know me, and there's a few new faces up there. I'm Ian Ray. I'm a 3rd generation Taiapian. I left town in my teens to study civil engineering, and I've been in construction work all my life before returning to the district. And as a sort of an added note, my travels have included dealing with a number of councils and territorial authorities around the country, ranging from Port Chalmers and Otago, Wellington, Kapiti Coast, Otaki, Waikato, North Shore City, and even as far as the Far North District Council. So I have been around the block. And the point I make is that I'm not an armchair critic. When I come to council, it's sort of, it's on an understanding of how the system works, and my role was really just to use my life's experiences to challenge or to put right some of the challenges in my hometown. My submission is on housing. In order to sort of expand, and the subject came up just before, so it's probably a nice coincidence that I followed on, because I think I can answer some of the questions that you had on the previous episode. To help understand the situation, I was just going to take you down a quick history trip on how Taiapi got to where it is.
Excuse me, you need to concentrate on what your request is.
Okay.
Council.
Yeah, Taihape began its life as part of the progress of the rail network in New Zealand in the start of the 19th century. Then in the late 30s, Mayor John Aldridge did a private development creating some 15 houses. In the mid-40s, councils then, this is the Taihape borough I'm talking about, brokered a deal with a local farmer, Fred Wallace, and the State Advances Corporation, as it was then, and created some 35 houses we know as Takahia Street. Then in the 60s, they managed to purchase land above Kaka Road and became a developer in their own right. And their last effort was in the 70s when they brokered a deal with the Housing Corp to create another 18 homes in, which you know as Kingfisher and Dove Place off Golford Street. But in October, November 1979, that all stopped. It stopped when Taihape Borough was absorbed into the Rangitikei District Council, along with all its financial reserves. The end result, according to your council's 2024 spatial plan, only 5 houses were ever built in Taihape in the previous decade, 1 house every 2 years. Currently, there's 801 houses in Taihape, which obviously evolved at the rate of 7 houses a year. And the spatial plan indicated 200 houses were needed by 2050, indicating a continued growth at 7 houses a year. In 2022, 2023, I was charged with chairing a housing steering group in Rangitikei, initiated by then Councillor Duncan. One of the first things that we did was a quick survey on the status of the houses in Taihape. And that revealed an immediate need for 40 houses in Taihape. Amongst those needs included Tweedale's Hunting, which was referenced before. They were, at that point in time, already renting 12 houses to house new staff. They were desperate for more beekeepers to sustain their business, but they couldn't employ them because there was nowhere to live. Then you had Hautapu Pine, quite a large organisation, building operation, also wanting to tap into skilled tradespeople, but they couldn't for the same reasons, no housing. And while this was all going on, you had New Zealand Defence at Wairau spending between 10 and 20 million a year on building upgrades and infrastructure upgrades. So that was putting demand on trades in the area. And in fact, there was a local plumber wanting to expand his business, but he couldn't because he couldn't employ anybody because there was nowhere to live. It even impacts on the medical system. There was only one registered doctor in the region, and yet there is a registered nurse practitioner having to come down from Waihi every second week. She'd love to move here permanently, but she can't. She's just cannot find any suitable housing. So, you know, and then you've got, I find it interesting that there's a number of people, other people tried to set up. Second term councillors will remember the name Taransky. He was the guy 2 years ago who tried to set up a fishing rod manufacturing business. But he was thwarted by council when he tried to modify an existing building.
And please be very, very careful because I will rule in terms of detailing a particular circumstance.
Okay. I was just going to quote yourself when you told us that there was no appetite, or council had no appetite for housing. I recently had a senior council person actually be a bit more specific and telling me that staff had a policy of not supporting housing in Taihape. So that sort of surprised me when I look at that document. And it's interesting that in that documentation, Bulls is supported on the premise of possible expansions at Ohakia and the demand for housing. But there's no acknowledgement of the demands of Wairu Military Camp. And right now, they're talking about building another 200 houses in Wairu. So you could ask the question, where do the tradespeople come from? Because right now, 2 years ago, they were all having to come from Palmerston North, Wanganui, and as far away as Taupō. Roading people were all having to come down from Tamaranui. And yet Taihape is only 20 minutes down the road. So there's clearly demand, but it's never going to work through lack of housing. So, and I think the other thing that surprises me is, and I think you've probably discovered it yourself, is the land that's tied up. There are currently 30 sections in Taihape that all have sewer, water, power. They're ready to go, but it's all tied up with Te Tai Whakatau. But that's way past its right of reply date from local iwi. So, you know, I'm surprised the council isn't talking to someone like Richard Stedman, who's, you know, chair of the group. So I'm just asking for council to do a bit more.
I'm just struggling to understand exactly what your request is of council with regard to this annual plan, in terms of housing.
Okay, I said at the outset that Taihape is dying.
Correct.
And when you drill down, okay, there are a number of influences, but the main one is the lack of housing. And despite publications saying that council supports housing, that's not happening in reality. So I'm simply asking that we heard about the bureaucracy. Yeah, I don't want to drill too deep into that, but the problem is real.
Okay.
And I am in an interesting position that I can compare councils and know how it can be done and how it's not being done. So I just leave my request as it is. I'm quite happy to take questions.
Okay. So you're separating out your 10 minutes with regard to Taihape housing.
No, I've done that, so I'm ready to go to the next one.
Okay, the time is yours. You can use it how you see fit.
Okay. Sorry, folks, I didn't intend to take up all your time. My second submission today is much simpler. All I'm asking for is funding to design a suitable stormwater system to overcome the Taihape West slip and to help identify the costs in fixing that. Staff currently have a copy of the geotechnical report that I've referred to. And in that report, if you get a chance to read it, it's not a question of if the slip moves, but it's more a question of when, because it goes to some effort to establish a 20% chance of actually occurring if action is not taken. And I know, Your Worship, and I've talked about it, but I know most people will identify with the Toi Toi slip. And as you have pointed out, fixing it did cost millions. There's no question about that. But talking to the Oka Katahi's project manager, he admitted that costs were substantial, but there are significant differences between that and the Taihape West slip. The first, and as the fellow pointed out, most of the costs, those millions of dollars, were more about reinstating State Highway 1 and the associated traffic management costs. There's also a big difference in the material. The overburden that's slipping and Toi Toi is predominantly clays, and that has an unfortunate habit of cracking vertically when it dries out, and that creates all sorts of drainage problems. But the reality is you have neither of those problems at Taihape West. The solution is simply in one of drainage as recommended, but not acted on. And in fact, council are exacerbating the problem. If you drive up Ruru Road, which is basically the west boundary, you'll find the cesspits, sumps in the road to drain the road, but they don't go anywhere. They're all piped under the road and discharge right into the Taihape West slip zone. And if you also have a look at that geotechnical report, the consulting engineers actually identified problems or faults with the drainage from the north end of the slip, which were damaged or ineffective, and they have never been repaired. So, and I know you have spoken to one of the insurance companies, but to the best of my knowledge, nobody has talked to the Natural Hazards Commission. And they are the people that insure the land. They are the people who initiated the original risk zones. So, you know, you all have recent examples of slips resulting from prolonged drains. So I don't have to explain that, but passing the buck to the new Central District's Water Authority, along with other council waterways, is not going to remove the problem. And remember that the CCO, Central District Water, doesn't kick in until July next year, and it will take them some months to identify the problem and the cure. So all I'm asking is to get the ball rolling now, and please think about the likely consequences if we do nothing, and how you will deal with the resulting issues if or when failure occurs.
Ben, are you happy to take some questions?
More than happy.
A question from me. You refer in your submission to the Tonkin Taylor Report 2016.
Correct.
Are you aware of the drainage that was put in as a consequence of that?
Yes, you and I actually discussed that, but that was only it doesn't address the issues. I know that was a field tile drain based adjacent to Otaipi Stream, adjacent at the toe of the slip, and there was an open drain cut up near Paradise Place. And my understanding was that was to tap the water or get rid of water from a spring that appeared. Neither of those actually addressed what the recommendation in the report suggested.
Are you aware that certainly there was some field tile work done there, but are you also aware of the very deep boring of drainage into the slip?
There are tests there, but they were there for monitoring rather than tapping water. They were the means of measuring the water table.
My understanding is these weren't a vertical drill, they were horizontal bores drilled deep into the hillside to drain.
I am not aware of such drains. Okay. That was suggested, but I'm totally unaware that they...
Yeah, okay, thank you. Rather than dominate here, questions from the councillors.
Kia ora. Tēnā koe, Ian, and thank you for your submission. I'd like to just ask you a couple of questions. Well, one question specifically around the housing support. So you gave us a lot facts around where this community sat in 2022. My question is, where does it sit? From your knowledge, where does it sit now? So you've said that you've had different discussions with different people, and I feel like it was 2023, 2024, in that time period and earlier. I'd like to know whether or not you think that the community is still in, Taihape itself is still in that same space. Do you think anything's changed?
the attitude or way of dealing with it hasn't changed one iota, no. In fact, I didn't want to touch on it, but you had the young guy, Fred Hammer, trying to build those pensioner housing. I'm not here to discuss the specifics, but clearly there was a issue in process. For him, the whole trying to do the right thing, if you like, by the town, it's probably turned into a bit of a financial disaster. He won't make money at it. But more importantly, it sends the wrong message to others.
Please be very, very careful about quoting someone else.
Well, I'm only quoting my observations, but I don't have to quote it. And I gather it was quite well publicised, so I'm not even getting into that. I'm just using it as an example. And I've referred to Raski. You're probably as well aware of as I am of some of the issues. Like I had a recent discussion with a previous client. Is a national distributor of frozen goods through New Zealand, and they're very keen to set up a satellite operation to service the lower North Island. And in that discussion, we established that Taiapi was geographically in the right place. But once they became aware of the problems trying to build and the shortage of housing, the conversation died. So I suppose the point I'm trying to make is it's affecting business coming here. And if it continues like that, the town will die.
Just before I take any further questions, and we've only got a couple of minutes left, you are submitting on behalf of the Taiapi Community Development Trust.
Correct.
They've approved your submission?
Correct.
As part of the trust. Councillor.
Just wondering if you could help me understand, please, what do you mean by the word support? So specifically, what are you expecting of the council and just in the support of what you're asking?
Well, you heard the previous speaker talk about bureaucracy. And that's probably as good examples I can give.
About a minute left.
Yeah, it's just, if you talk to outside builders or consultants coming into the area, I know consultants actually avoid it because the common expression they use is just too hard. And if I go to Waikato District Council or Shore City as it was once, when I go to the counter, the staff will try and help you overcome the problem or move forward. I mean, it's happening in Palmerston North right now. They will hold your hand and say, look, if we do this, do that, da, da, da. What you're finding, and that's what the previous alluded to, the response is, oh, you can't. It's against our town planning rules. There's all these sort of obstacles. If it helps explain it, Rangitikei does have town planning rules, and every city in New Zealand has them. But they're guidelines. They're guidelines to stop random development. But they're just that. They're not fixing concrete.
You're now running it over 21 minutes.
Right.
I do need to stop you. I'm really sorry, but that is the process. I'm not a fairness. Thank you very much for your submission. There is some stuff that you have submitted on that I need to go back to staff and understand. And there'll be a discussion around resourcing of housing in a general state around the annual plan and long-term plans. So thank you very much for your time. I think, councillors, that closes the time in Taihape. As such, I will recess this meeting to be continued in Martin. Thank you very much to submitters. Thank you. It does, there's been some very interesting points raised, and we need to go back and do a little bit of work on that. So thank you for your time. And I'll recess this meeting as of this time. You've got a time.